Hi again, everybody. Welcome back to another amazing and fascinating and informative lesson, this time about superlative adjectives. Do you know why I chose this image for the first part of my video? Do you know his name? Yeah, Superman. So I thought for superlative adjectives, which talk about how something is the number one thing out of a group of three or more, I thought Superman would be a great way to help us remember about superlative adjectives. After all, Superman is the fastest, strongest, most handsome superhero ever, right? No? Oh, well, then he's one of the fastest, strongest, and most handsome superheroes out there. Let's get going. My family and I recently visited an aquarium. Have you ever been to an aquarium before? Oh, it's so amazing. I hope you get to go. We saw many creatures that day, but one of the most interesting creatures was the jellyfish. Did you know it is one of the oldest creatures on Earth? Yeah. For my daughter, this jellyfish, though, was the most frightening sea creature she saw that day. She was so scared of that jellyfish. All the jellyfish we saw, she hid behind her daddy for the entire time we were watching that exhibit. She definitely was scared. She thought it was the most frightening sea creature. Do you know that the heaviest jellyfish weigh more than 450 pounds? Amazing, huh? And that the longest jellyfish can be up to 120 feet? Yeah. Watch out the next time you go swimming. After the jellyfish, we continued on to another exhibit. Yes, you guessed it, penguins. You know, these birds are some of the easiest to recognize, yeah? For my son, he thought the penguins were the funniest animals in the aquarium. They were sliding and slipping all over, jumping off the ice into the water. It looked like they were playing games with each other. He loved those guys. Now, there are, of course, different types of penguins. The emperor penguins are the largest penguins, and the little blue penguins are the smallest penguins in the world. We learned a lot of information that day at the aquarium. And for my baby, she was not interested in the jellyfish or the penguins or even the sharks. For her, the best part of our trip was the ice cream. And you can see she enjoyed it well. Yeah. Well, now that we've heard a little bit about my trip to the aquarium, let's talk about some of the the grammar focus for this lesson, the superlative adjectives. I said a lot of different pieces of information about these animals. They are underlined there. And for the ice cream, that was the best part of the trip. The underlined words are called superlative adjectives. Remember, adjectives are words that give more information or describe, and they describe nouns or pronouns. So if we're talking about the oldest something, the oldest what? What's the noun that oldest is describing? Creatures, right. So with the heaviest what? What's the noun? The jellyfish. Remember, nouns are people, places, and things. Some of the easiest, what? Birds. Funniest, animals. The largest, what? Penguins. And the best, what? The best part of our trip. All right. When we're working with superlative adjectives, we have to remember that they have a special superlative form. We take that from the base form. So when we say the oldest, what is the base form? Old. Do you know number 3? The heaviest. What's the base form? Heavy. Good job. Well, the best. The best. What's the base adjective form? Good is the base adjective form. That's a special one. We'll talk about that more. We're going to talk more about the formation, but we have to understand that superlative adjectives identify the number one thing out of a group of three or more. A group of three or more. If you're talking about two things, we use a different adjective called comparative. But for this exercise and for this lesson, we have to remember superlative adjectives are the number one out of three or more. How do you form a superlative adjective? Well, it depends on the base adjective form. With the adjectives we just learned about with my trip to the aquarium, I grouped them into 4 separate categories. Take a look at these now, and can you determine why I grouped them this way? Do they have anything in common? Let's find out. Let's learn more about group 1. Group 1 are short adjectives, adjectives that have one syllable. And for that, we add the word the and the est on the end of the adjective. Small, the smallest. Large, the largest. The longest, the youngest. The oldest, the hottest. The blank is the smallest penguin. The smallest penguin in the world is the, do you remember? Little blue penguin. Little blue penguin. That's group 1, short adjectives. Group 2, adjectives that end in the letter Y. For that, we change the Y to I and add est. The easiest, the healthiest, the busiest, the dirtiest, the ugliest. The heaviest jellyfish can weigh about 450 pounds. Great job. The heaviest. Heavy ends in the letter Y, so they change it to I and add est. That's group 2, adjectives ending in Y. Group 3, those are for long adjectives, 2 syllables or more. Remember, syllable is syllable. Adjective. They are the divisions of the words. So when we have long adjectives, we just put the words the most. And then the adjective stays the same. Frightening, 3 syllables. The most frightening. Handsome, the most handsome. Beautiful, 3 syllables. The most beautiful. Interesting, 3 syllables. The most interesting. Intelligent, the most intelligent. Famous, the most famous. For my daughter, the was the most frightening animal at the aquarium. Do you remember what the most frightening animal was for my daughter? The jellyfish. Great job. Good memory. That's group 3, long adjectives. And group 4, as of course you know, there are always exceptions in English, and group 4 presents them here. Irregular superlatives. We say good, and then the superlative, the best. Bad, the worst. Worst. And far, the farthest for distance. Some examples. Be careful on your pronunciation. Make sure you say best, worst, and farthest. Another important thing to remember when we're studying superlative adjectives is, of course, the formation of we use the 4 groups to help us remember, but we also want to remember to use the word the before the superlative adjective. Nathalie has the most modern phone in the class. Russia is the largest of all the countries. Erwin is one of the most talkative students. Sam's backpack is the heaviest one in class. In addition, we often use prepositional phrases to identify the group we're talking about. Nathalie has the most modern phone in the class. The preposition in. The phrase in the class. So who are we talking about? Nathalie has the most modern phone in the world? In her family? No, in her class, among her classmates. Russia is the largest of all the countries. Of is the preposition, of all the countries is the phrase, and that's identifying what group we're talking about. Same thing, just like number 1, in class, and number 4, in the class as well. So the prepositions in, of, in, plus the words after them tell us what we're talking about. Now, one last thing to remember with superlatives. Oftentimes, there's not a number 1, but there is a couple out of everybody that are the number 1. In that case, we say one of the or some of the. Remember in our example from my trip to the aquarium? Jellyfish are some of the oldest creatures on Earth. It is not the oldest, but they are some of the oldest creatures on Earth. I'm using plural because some jellyfish, more than one, it's irregular noun. So 1 jellyfish, 2 jellyfish, 3 jellyfish, it doesn't change. So we say are some of the oldest creatures. And then I said the penguin is one of the easiest birds to recognize, or a penguin is one of the easiest birds to recognize. So when you use one of the or some of the, please remember to use a plural noun after it. Let's practice. Boy, this girl has a horrible seat at the baseball game. I wonder if it was the Astros game. Way to go, Astros! This year they won the World Series, if you didn't know. Alrighty, so her seat is horrible. But you know what? There are probably other seats in the stadium just like hers. So it's not the only seat like this. So we can say this girl has one of the worst seats in the stadium. Good. So worst is because of bad, and seat goes to seats. Alrighty, how about this one? Cancun has one of the best beaches in Mexico. Beaches, 2 syllables on that one, make it plural. Alrighty, map of Africa here. That small country on the east coast there is called Djibouti, and it's very small. But you know what? Africa has a couple other small countries too. So it's not the only small one, it's one of the smallest countries. One of the smallest countries in Africa. The opposite would be the country like Algeria. Now, it's a large country, but there are other large countries too. So we can say Algeria is one of the largest countries in Africa. Okay. Let's finish the lesson here with a little quiz. Please complete each sentence with the correct adjective form. And then number 6, please choose the correct word. And pause the video now while you do it. And the answers are going to come when you push play again. Alrighty, let's go with the answers. Number 1, most talented. 2, heaviest. 3, longest. 4, most colorful. 5, best. And 6, my grammar class is one of the most interesting classes. Okay, good job. If you didn't get one correct, do you know what happened? Go back and study a little bit more if necessary. Thank you so much, students. This has been the most exciting part of my day. Thank you for studying with me, and always remember, never, never, never give up. You're the best. See you next time.